dust and starlight. The setting sun painted the vast Montana sky in hues of orange and purple as Zach Taylor guided his horse, Maverick, along the fence line of his family's ranch. At 25, Zach was the youngest rancher in Clearwater County, having inherited the sprawling property after his parents' untimely passing 2 years ago. The weight of responsibility sat heavy on his shoulders, but the freedom of the open range was a balm to his soul. As Maverick crested a small hill, Zach pulled up short. Something was wrong. The air felt charged, like the moments before a thunderstorm, but the sky was clear. A faint buzzing filled his ears, growing louder by the second. Suddenly, a blinding light split the darkening sky. "Whoa, easy boy," Zach murmured, struggling to control Maverick as the horse reared in panic. The light streaked overhead, leaving a trail of sparks in its wake. With a deafening boom that shook the earth, it crashed into the far pasture, sending up a plume of dust and smoke. Heart pounding, Zach spurred Maverick towards the impact site. As he approached, the acrid smell of burning metal filled his nostrils. Through the settling dust, he could make out a sleek, silver object about the size of a small airplane. It was like nothing he'd ever seen before. "What in tarnation?" Zach whispered, dismounting and approaching cautiously. The object hummed and crackled with energy. As he drew closer, he realized with a jolt that it wasn't a plane or any other earthly vehicle. It was a spaceship. A panel on the side of the craft suddenly hissed open, releasing a cloud of steam. Zach stumbled back, reaching for the revolver on his hip. A figure emerged from the mist, stumbling and falling to the ground. Instinct overrode fear, and Zach rushed forward to help. As the steam cleared, he froze in astonishment. The being before him was unmistakably alien. It had pale blue skin, large, almond-shaped eyes, and delicate, almost translucent features. Despite its otherworldly appearance, there was something hauntingly beautiful about the creature. The alien looked up at Zach, its eyes filled with a mix of fear and wonder. Pleased, it said in a melodious voice that seemed to resonate in Zach's mind rather than his ears. "Help me." Without hesitation, Zach knelt beside the alien. "It's all right," he said softly, unsure if it could understand him. "I've got you." As he helped the alien to its feet, he noticed it was wearing what looked like a suit made of a shimmering, liquid-like material. The alien swayed unsteadily, and Zach supported its weight. "What's your name?" Zach asked, surprising himself with the normalcy of the question in such an extraordinary situation. The alien's eyes locked onto his, and Zach felt a strange sensation, as if tendrils of thought were gently probing his mind. "In your language," the alien said, "you may call me Lyra." "Lyra," Zach repeated, the name feeling both alien and familiar on his tongue. "I'm Zach Taylor. You're safe here." A series of explosions from the crashed ship made them both jump. "We need to get away from here," Zach said urgently. He helped Lyra onto Maverick, then swung up behind her. As they rode away, the ship erupted into flames, illuminating the night sky. Zach's mind raced as they galloped towards the ranch house. An alien, a real, honest-to-God alien, was sitting in front of him on his horse. Every science fiction movie he'd ever watched flashed through his mind, along with a healthy dose of fear. What if Lyra was dangerous? What if more aliens came looking for her? But as Lyra leaned back against him, trembling slightly, those fears receded. Whatever Lyra was, whatever brought her to Earth, right now she was simply someone in need of help. And Zach Taylor had never been one to turn away from someone in need. As they approached the ranch house, Zach made a split-second decision. He couldn't take Lyra inside, not yet. There were too many questions, too many unknowns. Instead, he guided Maverick towards the old barn. "We'll stay here tonight," he told Lyra as he helped her down from the horse. "It's safe and out of sight. Tomorrow, we'll figure out what to do." Lyra nodded, her large eyes taking in the rustic structure. "Thank you, Zach Taylor," she said, her voice carrying a melody that made Zach's heart skip a beat. Your kindness will not be forgotten. Inside the barn, Zack quickly made up a bed of clean straw and blankets. As Lyra settled in, he finally had a moment to really look at her. In the soft light of the lantern, her blue skin seemed to glow faintly. Her features were delicate yet strong, and there was an intelligence in her eyes that both thrilled and unnerved him. "Are you hungry?" Zack asked, realizing he had no idea what aliens ate. "Or thirsty?" Lyra tilted her head, considering. "Water would be appreciated," she said. As Zack moved to get some from the pump outside, she added, "And perhaps, if it's not too much trouble, I've always wanted to try cheeseburger." Zack couldn't help but laugh. Of all the things he expected an alien to say, that wasn't one of them. "Where did you learn about cheeseburgers?" A small smile played on Lyra's lips. "We've been observing your planet for some time. Your television broadcasts are quite informative and entertaining." As Zack headed to the house to grab some food, his mind whirled with questions. Aliens had been watching Earth. For how long? And why was Lyra here now? When he returned with water, a hastily assembled cheeseburger, and some fruit, he found Lyra examining an old tractor with fascination. "Your technology is so physical," she mused. "Ours is mostly energy-based. This is beautiful in its own way." Zack handed her the food and water. "Speaking of your technology," he said, trying to keep his voice casual, "that ship of yours, is anyone going to come looking for it? For you?" Lyra's expression darkened as she took a small bite of the burger. "It's complicated," she said after a moment. I'm not supposed to be here. I was trying to send a warning, but my ship was attacked. I managed to escape, but—" She trailed off, and Zack felt a chill run down his spine. A warning? About what? Lyra met his gaze, her eyes filled with a mixture of fear and determination. "There's a war coming, Zack Taylor. A war that could destroy both our worlds. And I may be the only one who can stop it." Zack sat back stunned. Just this morning, his biggest concern had been fixing the broken irrigation system. Now, he was harboring an alien fugitive and learning about an impending interstellar war. As the weight of Lyra's words sank in, Zack made another decision. Whatever was coming, whatever dangers lay ahead, he would stand by Lyra. This mysterious alien had crash-landed into his life for a reason, and he was damned if he was going to let her face this alone. "Well," he said, forcing a smile, "I reckon we've got our work cut out for us then." Lyra reached out, her slender hand gently touching his. The contact sent a jolt of electricity through him. "Thank you," she said softly. "I knew I chose the right planet to crash on." As the night deepened around them, Zack Taylor, a simple rancher from Montana, and Lyra, an alien with a universe of secrets, sat together in the old barn. Outside, crickets chirped and a gentle breeze rustled through the grass. But to Zack, it felt like the whole world was holding its breath, waiting to see what the dawn would bring. Little did he know, this was just the beginning of an adventure that would change not only his life, but the fate of two worlds. As he settled in for a sleepless night, watching over his extraordinary guest, Zack couldn't shake the feeling that the universe had much more in store for him than he could possibly imagine. Cosmic Cowboy Chronicles. The early morning sun had barely kissed the Montana horizon when Zack jolted awake, his hand instinctively reaching for the alien device Lyra had given him the night before. The small, oval-shaped object pulsed with a soft blue light, its surface warm to the touch. Lyra had called it a quantum translator, capable of bridging the gap between their vastly different languages and thought patterns. "Mornin', Seagull," Zack drawled, his voice rough with sleep, ready to save the world. Lyra, who had been examining an old tractor manual with fascination, looked up with a smile that made Zack's heart skip a beat. "Good morning, Zack Taylor." I believe the more appropriate Earth phrase would be ready to save the worlds. Plural. As Zack stretched and stood, his mind raced with the events of the previous night. An alien crash landing, talks of an impending intergalactic war, and now the responsibility of harboring a fugitive from the stars. It was like something out of one of those pulp sci-fi novels he used to read as a kid, only this was terrifyingly real. First things first, Zach said, grabbing a worn Stetson from a nearby hook. We need to get you some proper Earth clothes. Can't have you wandering around in that spacesuit, drawing attention. Lyra nodded, her large, iridescent eyes blinking in understanding. Yes, camouflage would be wise. Though I must say, your Earth fashion seems rather restrictive. Zach couldn't help but chuckle. Well, darling, wait till you try on a pair of cowboy boots. As they made their way towards the house, Zach couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. He scanned the horizon, half expecting to see black helicopters or men in suits descending on his ranch. But the land remained peaceful, the only movement coming from a herd of cattle grazing in the distance. Inside, Zach rummaged through some old clothes that had belonged to his late mother. Here, he said, holding out a faded denim shirt and a pair of jeans. These should do for now. We'll head into town later for something more fitting. Lyra examined the clothes with curiosity before disappearing into the bathroom to change. When she emerged, Zach's breath caught in his throat. Despite the ill-fitting clothes, there was something undeniably alluring about the way Lyra carried herself. Her blue skin had taken on a more human-like hue. A chameleon-like ability, she had explained, was part of her species' adaptive traits. How do I look? Lyra asked, twirling awkwardly in a way that was both alien and endearing. Like the prettiest cowgirl this side of the Milky Way, Zach replied with a grin, tipping his hat. As they sat down for a breakfast of scrambled eggs and toast, Lyra's first time trying Earth food beyond the previous night's cheeseburger, Zach broached the subject they'd both been avoiding. So, about this war you mentioned, he began, watching Lyra carefully. What exactly are we up against? Lyra's expression grew somber. She placed her hand on the quantum translator, and suddenly, a holographic image sprang to life above the kitchen table. Zach gasped as he saw a massive fleet of ships, sleek and menacing, hovering above a planet that looked disturbingly like Earth. They call themselves the Void Collective, Lyra explained, her voice low. A confederation of species bent on galactic domination. They've already conquered dozens of worlds, and now they set their sights on Earth. Zach leaned back in his chair, trying to process the magnitude of what he was hearing. But why Earth? We're not exactly a spacefaring civilization. Lyra's eyes met his, filled with a mixture of admiration and concern. That's precisely why. Your planet is rich in resources, and your species, humans, are unlike anything the collective has encountered before. Your adaptability, your creativity, your sheer determination in the face of overwhelming odds. These are traits they fear. And what they fear, they seek to control or destroy. A chill ran down Zach's spine. And you? Where do you fit into all this? Lyra's hand trembled slightly as she deactivated the hologram. I was part of an advanced scouting party sent to assess Earth's defenses. But the more I observed your world, the more I came to admire it. I couldn't be part of its destruction, so I decided to warn you, to give Earth a fighting chance. Zach reached across the table, taking Lyra's hand in his. The touch sent a spark of electricity through him, a connection that seemed to transcend their different biologies. Well, I reckon that makes you the bravest little alien I've ever met, he said with a soft smile. Just then, the sound of tires on gravel made them both freeze. Zach moved to the window, his heart racing. A black SUV was pulling up to the house, two men in dark suits stepping out. Looks like the welcoming committee's arrived, Zach muttered, his mind racing. He turned to Lyra, whose eyes were wide with fear. Quick, out the back. Head for the old mine shaft behind the barn. I'll meet you there. As Lyra slipped out the back door, Zach took a deep breath, straightened his hat, and went to greet their unexpected visitors. He stepped onto the porch just as the men reached the bottom of the steps. "Mornin', gentlemen," Zach drawled, hooking his thumbs in his belt loops. What can I do for you? The taller of the two men flashed a badge. Agent Cooper, FBI. This is Agent Reyes. We're investigating reports of unusual activity in the area last night. Mind if we ask you a few questions, Mr. Taylor? Zach's mind raced, but he kept his expression neutral. Unusual activity. Can't say I noticed anything out of the ordinary. Just another quiet night on the ranch. Agent Reyes' eyes narrowed. Several residents reported seeing a bright light and hearing an explosion. You didn't see or hear anything. Zach shrugged. Might have been a meteor. We get those from time to time out here. Makes for quite a show. The agents exchanged glances. Mind if we take a look around your property, Mr. Taylor? Agent Cooper asked, though it sounded more like a statement than a question. Not at all, Zach replied, his heart pounding. Though I'd appreciate it if you could make it quick. Got a lot of work to do today. As the agents began their search, Zach's mind whirled with possibilities. He needed to buy time, to keep them away from the mine shaft where Lyra was hiding. An idea struck him. Say, agents, he called out, while you're here, mind taking a look at something? Found some mighty strange tracks out by the north pasture yesterday. Never seen anything like 'em. The agents took the bait, following Zach to a far corner of the property. As they examined the cattle tracks Zach claimed were unusual, he silently prayed that Lyra had made it safely to the mine shaft. After what felt like hours, but was probably only 30 minutes, the agents seemed satisfied. Thank you for your cooperation, Mr. Taylor, Agent Cooper said as they prepared to leave. If you notice anything unusual, please don't hesitate to contact us. Zach nodded, watching as the black SUV disappeared down the dusty road. Only when it was out of sight did he let out the breath he'd been holding. He quickly made his way to the old mine shaft, his heart in his throat. Lyra, he called softly as he entered the dark tunnel. Coast is clear, darling. A soft blue glow emanated from deeper in the shaft, and Lyra emerged from the shadows. Zach, she breathed, relief evident in her voice. I was so worried. Who were they? FBI. Zach replied, running a hand through his hair. Seems your arrival didn't go as unnoticed as we'd hoped. Lyra's brow furrowed. This complicates things. We don't have much time before the Void Collective arrives. We need to warn your leaders, prepare your defenses. Zach couldn't help but laugh. Darling, I'm just a rancher. I wouldn't even know where to start. Lyra's eyes locked onto his, filled with a determination that made his breath catch. Then we'll figure it out together. You know this world, Zach Taylor, and I know the threat we're facing. Together, we might just stand a chance. As they emerged from the mine shaft into the bright Montana sun, Zach felt a surge of resolve. This wasn't just about saving his ranch or even his country anymore. This was about protecting his entire world from a threat beyond imagination. And somehow, standing beside this remarkable alien woman, Zach felt like anything was possible. All right, Spacy girl, he said, a grin spreading across his face. Let's save the world. But first, how about we get you some proper cowboy boots? Lyra laughed, the sound like music to Zach's ears. As they walked back towards the house, an unlikely pair united by extraordinary circumstances, neither of them could have imagined the incredible journey that lay ahead. A journey that would take them from the quiet plains of Montana to the farthest reaches of the galaxy and test the very limits of what it means to be human. Galactic rodeo. The sun hung low on the horizon, painting the Montana sky in a breathtaking array of oranges and purples as Zach's beat-up pickup truck rumbled down a dusty back road. Beside him, Lyra sat wide-eyed, taking in the landscape with childlike wonder. She was now dressed in a pair of worn jeans, a checkered shirt, and honest-to-goodness cowboy boots, looking every bit the part of a ranch hand, if you ignored the faint blue tinge to her skin. You know, Zach drawled, breaking the comfortable silence, when I woke up yesterday, I never thought I'd be road-tripping with an alien fugitive trying to save the world from space invaders. Lyra turned to him, a mischievous glint in her iridescent eyes. And I never thought I'd be sitting in a primitive combustion engine vehicle, wearing constrictive lower limb coverings, alongside a charming Earth male. Zack couldn't help but laugh. Touche, spacego. Their destination was unconventional, to say the least. After narrowly evading the FBI agents, Zack had remembered something his late grandfather used to talk about: a secret government facility hidden in the mountains, disguised as an old mining operation. It was a long shot, but it was their best chance at making contact with someone who might actually believe their wild story. As they drove, Laura fiddled with the quantum translator, which now resembled an ordinary smartphone thanks to its adaptive camouflage abilities. "I've been analyzing your planet's defense capabilities," she said, her brow furrowed in concentration. "It's not good, Zack." "Well, darling, that's why we're headed to Mount Thunderhorn," Zack replied, trying to sound more confident than he felt. "If anyone's prepared for an alien invasion, it'll be the folks up there." Suddenly, the truck's radio crackled to life, startling them both. Through the static, a voice emerged. "Reports of unusual atmospheric disturbances. Military denies involvement. Conspiracy theorists claim alien activity." Zack quickly switched off the radio, his knuckles white on the steering wheel. "Looks like we're running out of time," he muttered. As they rounded a bend, the imposing silhouette of Mount Thunderhorn came into view. At its base, a cluster of dilapidated buildings marked the entrance to the old mine. Zack pulled the truck over, killing the engine. "Well, this is it," he said, turning to Lyra. "You ready for this?" Lyra nodded, her expression a mix of determination and apprehension. "As ready as I'll ever be to infiltrate a secret Earth facility and potentially alter the course of galactic history." They approached the mine entrance cautiously, the only sound the crunch of gravel beneath their boots. Just as Zack was beginning to think they'd made a mistake, a gruff voice called out from the shadows. "That's far enough, folks. This here's private property." A figure emerged from behind a rusted piece of mining equipment, a weathered old man with a shotgun trained on them. Zack raised his hands slowly. "Easy there, partner. We're not here to cause trouble. We need to speak with whoever's in charge. It's a matter of global security." The old man's eyes narrowed. "Oh yeah, and who might you be?" Zack took a deep breath. It was now or never. "My name's Zack Taylor, and this here is Lyra. She's not from around here, and we've got information about an impending alien invasion." For a long moment, the only sound was the wind whistling through the canyon. Then, to Zack's utter amazement, the old man lowered his shotgun and burst out laughing. "Well, I'll be damned," he wheezed, wiping tears from his eyes. "They told me to expect all sorts of crazies up here, but this takes the cake. All right, come on then. The boss will want to hear this." As they followed the old man into the mine, Zack couldn't shake the feeling that they'd just stepped through some kind of cosmic looking glass. The narrow tunnel soon opened up into a vast, high-tech facility that looked like something straight out of a sci-fi movie. They were led to a sleek conference room where a stern-looking woman in a crisp military uniform awaited them. Her nameplate read General Sarah Hawthorne. "So," she said, her voice clipped and businesslike, "I hear you have a tale to tell about alien invaders." Over the next hour, Zack and Lyra laid out everything they knew about the Void Collective and their impending attack. To her credit, General Hawthorne listened without interruption, her expression unreadable. When they finished, she leaned back in her chair, studying them both intently. "Under normal circumstances, I'd have you both committed to a psychiatric facility," she said finally. "But these aren't normal circumstances." She tapped a button on the table, and a holographic display sprang to life, showing a series of anomalous readings from deep space. "We've been tracking something big headed our way, something that doesn't match any known celestial body or phenomenon." Laura leaned forward, her eyes wide. "That's them, the Void Collective's invasion fleet." General Hawthorne nodded grimly. "I believe you. God help us all, I believe you. The question is, what do we do about it?" Zack cleared his throat. "Well, ma'am, I reckon that's where we come in. See, Lyra here knows their weaknesses and I've got a crazy idea that just might work. As Zack began to outline his wild plan, a plan that involved repurposing old rodeo skills, Lyra's advanced technology, and a healthy dose of human ingenuity, he couldn't help but marvel at the bizarre turn his life had taken. Here he was, a simple Montana rancher, sitting in a secret underground base, planning Earth's defense against an alien invasion alongside an extraterrestrial fugitive and a hardened military general. It was absurd, terrifying, and exhilarating all at once. But as he caught Lyra's eye, saw the mix of admiration and hope in her gaze, Zack knew one thing for certain: whatever happened next, he wouldn't want to face it with anyone else by his side. As the meeting concluded and preparations began in earnest, a sense of electric anticipation filled the air. The fate of not just one world, but two, now rested on the shoulders of this unlikely alliance. And as the first signs of the Void Collective's approach began to appear in Earth's skies, Zack couldn't help but think that maybe, just maybe, they stood a chance. After all, if a cosmic cowboy and his alien bride could find each other across the vast expanse of space and time, who was to say they couldn't save the galaxy while they were at it? Stardust stampede. The war room of Mount Thunderhorn buzzed with frenetic energy as holographic displays flickered with real-time data from Earth's hastily assembled planetary defense network. General Hawthorne barked orders into a headset, coordinating with military forces worldwide. In the center of it all stood Zack and Lyra, an unlikely pair united by extraordinary circumstances. "All right, folks," Zack announced, his voice cutting through the chaos. "Time to saddle up for the wildest rodeo this side of the Milky Way." He activated a holographic projector, revealing a 3D model of his audacious plan. "We're calling it Operation Stardust Stampede," he declared, a glimmer of excitement in his eyes. Lyra stepped forward, her alien features softened by a look of admiration for her human partner. "The Void Collective's ships are vulnerable to electromagnetic pulses," she explained. "But Earth's current technology isn't powerful enough to generate a pulse of sufficient magnitude. That's where our secret weapon comes in," Zack continued, grinning. He tapped the projector, zooming in on a familiar shape. "Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the cosmic lasso." The image showed a modified satellite, its dish replaced by an enormous, glowing rope-like structure. "We've combined Lyra's quantum technology with good old-fashioned cowboy know-how," Zack explained. "This baby will generate a controlled EMP field that we can literally throw at the enemy ships." General Hawthorne raised an eyebrow. "You're telling me we're going to lasso alien spaceships?" "Exactly," Zack beamed. "But here's the kicker. We need skilled space cowboys to operate these lassos from orbit. And who better than the best rodeo riders Earth has to offer?" The room erupted in a mixture of disbelief and excitement. It was crazy, unconventional, and exactly the kind of out-of-the-box thinking that might just save the planet. As the plan was set into motion, Zack found himself leading a crash course in cosmic rodeo techniques for a hand-picked team of the world's top bull riders and lasso experts. The sight of hardened cowboys floating in zero-G simulations, trying to wrangle holographic spaceships, was something he'd never forget. Meanwhile, Lyra worked tirelessly with Earth's top scientists, integrating her advanced knowledge with human ingenuity to bring the cosmic lasso to life. The bond between her and Zack grew stronger with each passing day, their connection transcending the boundaries of their different worlds. As the deadline approached, tension mounted. The Void Collective's massive fleet loomed at the edge of the solar system, a dark tide threatening to engulf everything Zack held dear. The night before the final confrontation, Zack found Lyra standing alone on an observation deck, her eyes fixed on the stars above. He joined her, their hands intertwining naturally. "Having second thoughts about throwing in your lot with us humans?" Zack asked softly. Lyra turned to him, her iridescent eyes shimmering with emotion. "Never," she replied. "Zack, in all my travels across the galaxy, I've never encountered a species quite like yours. Your courage, your creativity, your capacity for love. It's unlike anything in the universe." Zack felt his heart swell. "Well, darling," he drawled, tipping his hat, "I'd say the feeling's mutual." As they stood there, an unlikely pair gazing at the stars they were about to defend, Zack realized that no matter what happened tomorrow, he'd already won something more precious than he could have imagined. The next morning, as dawn broke over a world holding its breath, Operation Stardust Stampede commenced. Zack, Lyra, and their team of cosmic cowboys rocketed into orbit aboard specially modified shuttles. As they approached their stations, the first wave of the Void Collective's ships entered Earth's atmosphere. "All right, space cowboys," Zack's voice crackled over the comms. "Let's show these alien varmints how we do things down on the ranch." With a whoop and a holler, the battle began. Cosmic lassos arsed through space, their ethereal light dancing among the stars as they sought out enemy ships. The Void Collective, caught off guard by this unprecedented tactic, found their advanced shields useless against the ingenious human weapon. Zack and Lyra worked in perfect synchronization, her knowledge of alien weak points guiding his expert lasso throws. Ship after ship fell dark, corralled by the determined Earth defenders. But the battle was far from over. The Void Collective's flagship, a massive structure that dwarfed all others, remained untouched, its weapons charging for a devastating strike against the planet below. "We've got one shot at this," Lyra said, her voice tense. "If we can't take out the flagship, Earth is doomed." Zack gritted his teeth, a plan forming in his mind. "Then I reckon it's time for the grand finale, darling. You up for a little cosmic bull riding?" Before Lyra could protest, Zack had maneuvered their shuttle towards the flagship, dodging enemy fire with the skill of a seasoned bronco buster. As they approached, he activated the shuttle's cosmic lasso, the largest and most powerful of them all. "Yeehaw!" Zack yelled as he threw the lasso, enveloping the entire flagship in a web of crackling energy. The massive ship bucked and weaved, trying to shake off the EMP field. "Hold on tight, Lyra," Zack grinned, his hands gripping the controls. "This is gonna be one hell of a ride." For what seemed like an eternity, the small shuttle clung to the writhing flagship, the cosmic lasso draining its power. Finally, with a spectacular series of explosions, the alien vessel went dark, drifting harmlessly in space. As cheers erupted across every communication channel, Zack turned to Lyra, his eyes shining with triumph and something more. Without a word, they embraced, their kiss bridging the gap between two worlds. In the days that followed, as Earth celebrated its improbable victory and began to come to terms with its new place in a much larger universe, Zack and Lyra stood as symbols of what could be achieved when different worlds came together. Their story, the tale of a cosmic cowboy and his alien bride who saved the galaxy with nothing more than grit, ingenuity, and a whole lot of heart, would be told and retold across the stars for generations to come. And as for Zack and Lyra, well, they had a whole universe to explore, hand in hand, one cosmic adventure at a time. The legend of the Stardust Stampede was just the beginning. Galaxies and grit. The dust had barely settled on Earth's improbable victory when Zack and Lyra found themselves thrust into a new adventure. Their faces were plastered across every screen on the planet, hailed as the unlikely heroes who had saved humanity from annihilation. But fame, it turned out, was a double-edged lasso. Cosmic Cowboy and Alien Bride to address United Nations. The headlines screamed. Zack tugged uncomfortably at his tie as he and Lyra waited backstage at the UN headquarters in New York. "Remind me again why we can't just go back to the ranch," he muttered, his palms sweaty. Lyra squeezed his hand, her touch sending a familiar tingle through his body. "Because, my dear Zack," she said with a smile, "we have a chance to change the course of human history, to prepare your world for its place among the stars." Before Zack could respond, they were ushered onto the stage. The assembly hall fell silent, all eyes on the oddest couple in the galaxy. Zack cleared his throat, his voice echoing through the cavernous room. "Howdy, folks," he began, eliciting a few chuckles. "I know you all are expecting some grand speech about unity and the future of mankind. But the truth is, I'm just a simple rancher who happened to lasso the right alien at the right time." He glanced at Lyra, drawing strength from her presence. "What I can tell you is this. The universe is a whole lot bigger and stranger than we ever imagined. But out there, among the stars, there's also beauty, wonder, and the chance for something extraordinary." Lyra stepped forward, her ethereal voice captivating the audience. "Earth stands at a crossroads. The Void Collector's defeat has sent shockwaves across the galaxy. Many worlds now look to you with hope, seeing in humanity a force for positive change." As they spoke, laying out their vision for Earth's future in the galactic community, something unprecedented happened. Representatives from nations long at odds found common ground. Age-old rivalries faded in the face of a much larger cosmic picture. By the end of the session, the United Earth Space Initiative was born, with Zack and Lyra appointed as its first ambassadors. "Well, I'll be," Zack drawled as they left the UN, a media frenzy erupting around them. "Looks like this cosmic cowboy's gone and become a diplomat." Lyra laughed, the sound like music to his ears. "Just wait until you see what's next, my love." What came next was a whirlwind of activity that would have made even the wildest rodeo seem tame by comparison. Zack and Lyra crisscrossed the globe, overseeing the integration of alien technology with human innovation. The Montana Ranch became the unlikely headquarters for a new generation of cosmic cowboys and cowgirls, training to defend Earth and explore the stars. The sight of traditional lassos alongside quantum entanglement devices became a common one. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. Not everyone was thrilled about Earth's rapid advancement into the galactic scene. A faction known as the Earthbound emerged, protesting against alien influence and calling for isolation. One tense afternoon, Zack and Lyra found themselves facing down an angry mob outside a newly constructed spaceport in Texas. "Go back to your own planet," someone shouted, hurling a rock that narrowly missed Lyra's head. Zack's blood boiled, but Lyra placed a calming hand on his arm. With grace and poise, she stepped forward, addressing the crowd. "I understand your fear," she said, her voice carrying over the angry murmurs. "Change is never easy, but I've seen the wonders that await us among the stars, and I've seen the incredible potential within each of you." She gestured to Zack. "This man, your fellow human, taught me the true meaning of courage, love, and acceptance. He showed me that the human spirit is the most powerful force in the universe. I'm not here to replace your world, but to help it grow." Her words, filled with sincerity and hope, began to sway the crowd. Slowly, the anger dissipated, replaced by curiosity and cautious optimism. As they left the scene, crisis averted, Zack shook his head in amazement. "I swear, darling, you could charm the rattles off a snake." Lyra smirked. "I learned from the best, cowboy." Months flew by, and Earth's first true starship neared completion. Built with a fusion of human and alien technology, it represented the dawn of a new era. And of course, there was only one logical choice for its maiden voyage. The day of the launch arrived, and Zack found himself standing before the massive ship, aptly named Cosmic Lasso. He wore a spacesuit that looked like it had been designed by a rodeo tailor, complete with a helmet that accommodated his ever-present Stetson. Lyra stood beside him, resplendent in her own unique suit that shimmered with otherworldly energy. As the countdown began, she turned to him, her eyes shining with excitement and love. "Are you ready for our next great adventure, my cosmic cowboy?" she asked. Zack grinned, tipping his space helmet. "Born ready, darling. Though I gotta admit, I never thought I'd be trading my horse for a starship." As they boarded the Cosmic Lasso, hand in hand, Zack couldn't help but marvel at the journey that had brought them to this point. From a chance encounter on a quiet Montana ranch to the brink of interstellar exploration, their love had not only saved the Earth, but was now poised to change the very fabric of the galaxy. The engines roared to life, and the cosmic lasso lifted off, carrying humanity's hopes and dreams into the stars. As Earth shrank behind them, Zack and Lyra shared a kiss that bridged worlds, species, and the very cosmos itself. Their story, a tale of unlikely love, incredible bravery, and the indomitable human spirit, would echo across the universe for eons to come. The cosmic cowboy and his alien bride had roped the stars themselves, proving that with enough grit, determination, and a little bit of cosmic luck, anything was possible. As they set course for the unknown, ready to face whatever adventures awaited them, Zack couldn't help but let out a joyous yee-haw that resonated through the ship. The galaxy would never be the same again, and honestly, that was just fine by him.